Good evening.
Hey, Dr. Lamb,
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm excited to be here.
Me too.
Oh, me. I'm just on another Zoom. Fixing problems.
That
Do
time
we
of the
do we have any 601 regulars with us tonight?
I don't know. I don't know that. I sent out a reminder to everybody that I had access to,
Regulars with people getting a regular master's in administration.
and I know that
Uh,
Robin would have sent out to their two groups.
so we have. So Kim, are you a 601 master student, not add-on? Is that correct? Do we have any of those people with us?
Jessica, I'm an add-on.
Okay, so everybody's add-ons tonight. Stacy, are you regular?
No, add-on.
Add-on.
Yes,
And-
sir.
I'm
and-
a regular.
And this
Okay,
was
we
a
do
part
have,
of,
so I just want to make sure we've got the regulars got the notice as well, so, okay.
yeah. I just know that this was in our plan for the add-ons. That's all I.
Yeah,
that's all
I don't have as much information for the 601 regulars, but I do have some for them. So I want to make sure that we've got some of them with us. Okay. All right. Well, I've got close to 7 o'clock. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Participants. Okay, you'll have to unmute yourself now. I muted everybody. Welcome to our 601 town hall. I've got 7 o'clock. I appreciate you being with me. I don't want to spend all night, and so I'm going to go ahead and dive right in. The summer semester starts on May the 18th, but I would encourage you not to look at it that way. I would encourage you to just keep going and move on through. As you know, the summer session is only 10 weeks long, and it's almost impossible to do the work that you have to do if you're an add-on. It's more reasonable for the 602 since you don't have, in 602 you don't have a large amount of discussion board separate activities to do, and you only have one evidence to do, the APTEL. And so, but it's still a strain to get that in, plus your hours this summer. So I would go ahead and start working on those now. Somebody asked me, can you bank hours? No, you can't bank clinical hours, but when you get, we'll let you, when you get your 80 in this semester for the spring, you can go ahead and start your spring 80 your summer internship log of 80 hours. As soon as you finish the spring one, you can go ahead and start the summer one. Let me say that again. You can't bank hours. You can't say, well, I got 160 in the spring, I don't have to do any in the summer. No, you have to have an internship log with 80 hours for each semester. But we can be a little bit liberal on when we start the semester. So if you've already got, say, 85 for the spring, go ahead and stop it, put it in your competency folio, request comments, and move on to starting your summer log whenever that you can.
You can sit out here if you
Okay, so that will help you with your summer hours. Now, for you 602 people who are going to be going into 602, you have one book, Research Methods for Education. I'll send this title and name out. You will have one book. You'll have one evidence to do, which is the APTEL. I'll have your coach to be sure to get with you and get you started on the APTEL if it's not already in your 601 shell. I'll put that in there tonight. I make myself notes as I go. APTEL in the 601 regular. I'll put that in there so you can start it. Your coach can provide you information. That'd be Dr. Bullis can provide you information how to get that started. You only have one book. You don't have a separate set of activities in discussion board. Let me go to this. You have your weekly schedule, and it's all around your book and things in it, because this is a survey and research course. And so you have it, as you can see, it's mostly reading in your book and doing activities from that. You don't have separate case studies per se. And so your time will be much easier. I mean, your activities will take much less of your time. They'll be more in depth because you're doing your methods course. And so you won't have a lot of outside activities to do. You'll only have one evidence to do. You can go ahead and start your summer internship log as soon as you get through currently with the one that you have for the spring, as soon as you get your 80. So you should be in good shape. Remembering that you won't have a group of case study presentations to do. Like, you know, you'll have those when you get to 603, but this summer will be a much easier time for you. You'll have the full 16 weeks in the fall to do all the extra things that you have to do. So I appreciate you being with me tonight. I'll make sure that the textbook and the AppTel are uploaded in your both Dr. Neal and Dr. Burgess's class sections. I'll get that done as soon as we get through tonight. I appreciate you joining us. You can stay online if you'd like to, but I'm going to focus now on our 603 add-on people because we have a lot to do this summer. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the course overview of my 601 course currently. Please remember, it's going to look like this, except it's going to have 10 Zoom sessions rather than 15 for the summer. But the big thing to remember about us in the summer with 603 add-on is you have 4 case studies that you have to do as group assignments. You have to collaborate with your regular Zoom peer group. They're in here. You have to do a presentation and present that at our weekly class, and you have to write a half-page reflection of the process. So you'll have 4 case studies this summer. They're independent. They go along with our material, but they don't just follow like AppTel. They're the 4 hot topics in school law right now: LBGTQ, inclusion model EC, equity funding, and grading policy. Those are all the hot topics. So we have 4 case studies centered around those. And so you'll have to do presentations on them. You have 2 evidences, the OMA and the SKIP, that I'm going to cover in just a few minutes. You have 2 evidences due this summer. We do cut back on the amount of peer reviewing in 603 because we're adding the collaboration of the case studies. You'll work on those on your own. You get a 2-week notice to work on those. And then you have your discussion boards. Now, discussion boards are going to change gears for you folks. Discussion boards in 603 are coming and going, to-ing and fro-ing, as I like to talk about it. So let's look at what those discussion boards look like. All right, discussion board 1, locate copies of your school emergency plans. The first module we'll cover is school safety. So you've got to be able to find your emergency plans, read 3 pages in the school law book, and assess your school's emergency plan. You'll have to locate your crisis box, some of those other kinds of things. Again, on safety, examine your field trip policy, assuming you're a supervisor on a local trip. You're in a minor car accident. What do you do? That's an emergency situation. Reflect on the fact that educators have been found liable. It's tort liability, personal responsibility for malpractice on students. So that's the first section, is safety. And you see you've got activities that you have to do that are realistic. Now, in the COVID era, you might not be back in school. You may have to do some of these things through Zoom and email. But we haven't had a problem this spring. Folks have been fairly responsive, and so it's worked out pretty well so far. Then we'll shift gears into due process and discipline. Observe a due process in your school. You may not be able to do that because And so you're going to interview an AP about school discipline anyway, and you can just get them to tell you what they would normally do in terms of school processing a discipline incident. Interview an AP about discipline. What do you use? What's their concerns? What system of discipline do you use? Do you use PBIS? Do you have a code of conduct? Those things. Examine the district's policy, your district's policy, do research and find out their policy on cyberbullying. What would you do if your parent brought you evidence of cyberbullying at your school? And so that's the due process piece. We start with safety, security, then due process, discipline. Then we'll move into exceptional children's programs. Attend an IEP meeting. You may have to do that virtually. We've had a lot of folks doing that virtually this spring. Interview the chair of your school intervention team. That's MTSS, and response to intervention. And then we'll shift gears into personnel. Interview an administrator concerning hiring practices in your district. Interview an administrator concerning employee benefits. And then we'll shift into liability issues in terms of an assessment inventory. You may not be able to do that. You may have to do an email with an assistant principal about that. And then school fundraising as we move into finance. The second half of the course, we move into finance. Interview an administrator concerning fundraising. 5 most important steps. Interview an administrator about the 5 most important steps in school budgeting. Locate a copy of your budget, what's in it, what's missing. Respond to a case study on page 243 in your book. Examine your district's policy on harassment. So you can see it's practical things where we link you with your school administrator, hopefully the one that's supervising your internship, to begin to partner with them for the learning that can take place. Remember, 603 is law and finance. It's about how to run a school. We've already done the instruction piece and the professional development piece. We're going to be working and focusing in this summer on how do you manage a school? How do you do the legal part? How do you actually run school each day? And the 2 evidences that we have this summer, the OM and the A and the SCIP, they monitor those. Is somebody catching the questions?
Yes, we are.
All right. And so as you can see, 603 is very busy in terms of coming and going, talking to people. You may have to do your interviews over the phone or email, or you may can Zoom. So it's according to if school's back open or not. I'm assuming it won't be. And so a lot of this stuff will have to be done virtually or over the phone or the email. But there's a lot of learning that takes place by linking with the school administrator and basically picking their brain on all of these things. We'll have stories to tell ourselves, but it's a little different than what you've been experiencing so far in terms of your discussion boards. These are real life activities that you will be doing that get you practical experience in the operations of a school.
Dr.
All right,
Lamb,
I'm going to pause.
Lamb,
my
Dr.
breath.
Crawford had made a comment. He needs to come on, unmute himself and state so you can talk about it. Dr. Crawford.
All right.
Talk to him about
I was just, so we just today received guidance from our EC department about how we're going to restart IEPs. And apparently that's not the same all over. We were told that we were waiting on guidance from DPI because of issues such as how are you going to securely house the documents, things like DocuSign and things of that nature.
We've lost you. We've lost. Can you still hear me, Dr. Stedman?
I can.
Can you hear him? I've lost him.
I can't.
We've lost Dr. Crawford.
I can see him, but that's all I can do.
Sorry.
Okay.
All right, you're back.
I froze.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. No, I was saying that apparently, so we just received guidance today about restarting IEPs for in the next week. We were told that we were waiting on information from DPI about how to deal with all the documents securely, how to DocuSign. Of course, here in GCS, there is still a huge issue with connectivity and just access to be able to do this and I guess be fair about it. But we just received that guidance today about how to restart the process.
Okay. Well, you may not, to that end, you may not be able to attend an IEP meeting. You'll just have to interview your IEP, your EC chair about how those things operate and who does what, where, and when. That's what we really want you to know. And it's up in the air right now as to how that stuff works. But this spring, some of my students have been able to attend the meetings virtually. And the takeaway is that they're collaborative meetings, and that's what we want you to learn. You don't have to attend an intervention team meeting. You have to interview your school intervention team chair, and to learn about MTSS and RTI in your district. Different districts are at different levels in terms of implementing the multi-tier system of support. I'm sure you all know what that is. That's the program of support prior to the 90-day federal guidelines prior to EC testing. And so a lot of these things will have to adjust and adapt for the summer. But we have done that this spring, and I've done that on an individual basis, and we've not had a problem with it so far. So my hope is that we'll be able to continue with these activities. And most of it is you're just interviewing people anyway, and you can do that virtually, or you can do it through email or on the phone to ask them about these things. All right, are we still catching up with the questions?
Yeah, I wanted to make sure. They were asking about 603 instructors. I said they won't know that until this semester's over with, and usually about a week before classes start.
It'll be me. I'll have the bulk of you this summer. And then Dr. Barnes and Dr. Sumner will have 603.
Whitaker and Zayance will have a class.
Let's see.
Dr. Whitaker and Dr. Zayance will have a class, and Doug and Jackie have a class.
Right here, I think I've got it pulled up right now. Looking at 603 this summer, it'd be me, Whitaker, Zayance, Jackie, Dr. Tobias and Dr. Massengill are splitting the class. Dr. Whitaker and Dr. Zayance are splitting the class. I'll have the others. And then the regulars, Dr. Barnes and Dr. Summer, as I said, they'll have the regular classes. But I will have the bulk other than these two. And you can see who will be coaching and who will be teaching.
Somebody had asked about that, about the coaches, and I didn't know that you were going to bring that up. So.
Yeah, they may change, but this is who we've got so far. Dr. Tobias, Dr. Massengill, Dr. Hamilton, Dr. Stedman, and Dr. Hamilton for the 603s. And then Dr. Bullis is going to stay with the regulars this summer. And so Dr. Stedman will be with me in one of mine if it doesn't get collapsed. Otherwise, you're going to have a sitting principal as your coach, and that's intentional. That's intentional. That we'll have a principal with us, and it's just like with Dr. Crawford tonight. It's always great to have a principal when you do, because these things can change from week to week, and especially right now. And so we have a principal with us each night that we're on, and they can tell us what's happening that week in school law. And so that's why it is scheduled that way. Dr. Bullis does this kind of thing for Wilkes County Schools, and so he's a good person. Dr. Barnes, she does law for Charlotte-Mecklenburg, and so she does law and policy. So you have people who do this for a living who will be working with you in law and policy and finance.
Dr. Lamb,
And that's intentional.
They've asked what night will the classes be on?
Mine's always on Wednesday.
Okay.
The others, I'm trying to think. I don't know the others.
You stress Wednesday night for the
I
most
try
part.
to get them to do Wednesday nights if they can. I will do Wednesday nights. My sections will meet on Wednesday nights. The others, I'm trying to think what nights they like to meet.
Whitaker and Zayance do not like Wednesday nights.
Yeah, they normally meet on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
But now Barnes and Sumner meet on Wednesday.
Right.
And,
Doug and Jackie probably will because they're used to it.
they're used to meeting on Wednesday. So we might have one section that doesn't meet on Wednesday. I encourage everybody to meet on Wednesdays.
The question was, is the syllabus available now? It won't be available until their classes are ready.
It'll be in there. No, it won't be ready until the classes come up. But the information that you need is in your under week 14 in your class shell. And
That's what I
that
was
is
gonna
the
say, yeah.
book, the case studies, and the AppSell and the AppTell are in. I mean, the OMA and the Skip are in the MELS handbook, and it's in your shell as well, just like the AppSell and the AppTell are. All your evidences are in there, but your textbooks, your case studies, and your discussion boards, they're all under week 14 in the add-on shells. If they're not, they will be.
And you're going to show them, I'm sure, but somebody asked the question, the OMA and the Skip in your scale handbook, all of the information you need for those evidences are in your scale handbook.
Now, remembering the template for the OMA for this summer, it's only the directions. There's no clues, there's no hints, there's no any of that. You will have an example, and you will have just a bare bones template. When we get to the Skip, there is no template. You have to make your own. Gradual release. You just have the task and the prompts. You have to figure out on your own how to put you a template together, just like I do. And so you will have materials, the task and prompts. We'll go ahead and put the template and the example in under week 14. We'll go ahead and introduce that tonight. I haven't put it in there so far for a reason until I introduce it tonight. But I've got some examples and a template for the OMA, and that's what I'm going to focus on tonight. I'm just going to tell you you're going to do the Skip. I'm only going to focus tonight on the OMA. You can go ahead and get started on it now. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it up and get started on it. You should get started on it as soon as possible. Let me move this out of the way so I can open that up. But again, under week 14 in your add-on shell, you will have the materials that you need to get you jump started on 603 for the summer. All right, so here we go, 603. Now, I tell students when we start in 603, I'm in the OMA, I'm not going to teach you how to build a master schedule, a duty roster, and supervision schedule. I'm going to teach you how to build a legal master schedule, duty roster, and supervision schedule. There is a difference. This is a law and finance course. Your master schedule is the heart of your school. Whoever controls the master schedule controls the school. There is a rationale for scheduling, and it goes federal law comes first. All of your federal programs, Title I, EC, 504, CTE, gifted, English as second language. All those are federal programs. That's your first thing when you build a master schedule. You have to meet all those federal requirements. Then your state law. That's number of students in the class, highly qualified teacher, teacher certification, number of days of instruction, number of hour instruction, planning time, duty-free time. All of those things come second when you're building a schedule. Third comes your local board policies. That's like minutes of instruction and reading in elementary school, block schedule versus AD day schedule. All of those things are local board decisions. They come next. Fourth comes EVOS, which teachers get the best scores. fifth and only fifth comes teacher input. It goes that way and that way only. If you get it any other way, somebody else will be making the schedule shortly thereafter. If you get this wrong, money gets misspent and you have to go home. The whole point of 603 is when you get sued, and you probably will, is that you don't lose your house, that you win. I hate to be that cavalier and cutthroat about it, but the point of 603 is to teach you how to win when you get sued, not to lose the lawsuit and lose your house. Remembering in North Carolina since 1992, there's tort liability. If you do something wrong, if you do things badly, you can be held legally liable personally for those things that went badly. You need to understand that. This is about keeping your house and keeping a job. And so we will teach you the legal way to do these things, not the way that it's been done before. I know that some places don't always follow the law, and it's all fun and games until somebody gets their eye put out, until you get caught, and then somebody else has that job. So you need to understand that. We're going to teach you the right way to do things, the legal way to do things. It may not be the way things are done at your school. I can't help that. People, have to assess their own level of risk. Dr. Crawford and I are motorcycle riders. We have to understand there's a level of risk that comes with riding motorcycle. We're willing to accept that risk. I take out a $1 million life insurance policy for accidental death on a motorcycle and get on and ride. That's a risk I'm willing to take. Other people aren't willing to take that risk, but I'm informed. I know what my risk tolerance is. I can accept that risk. I can't accept the risk that I might lose my house because I did something stupid. I won't lose my house. My wife won't lose the house. I've got enough life insurance. She'll be fine if something happens to me. I sleep uneasy around her already, as much life insurance as I have. I don't want to encourage her. But quite seriously, it's all about risk and risk aversion, and how much risk are you willing to take. We're going to teach you how to mitigate your risk as a school administrator, so that you don't stay up nights wide awake worrying about what's going to happen to you and your family. The idea here is not to scare you, it's to prepare you. And that's what we do in 603. We teach you how to build a master schedule, a supervision schedule, which is for your after school activities, and a duty roster of how to supervise during the day. So if somebody claims malpractice, misfeasance, malfeasance, or nonfeasance, that you didn't do something right or you intentionally did something wrong, that you'll be able to show in a court of law that you did what you were supposed to do. That when you send your school activity report in every month, which is your master schedule, that it conforms to all federal, state, and local guidelines. That you don't, that you don't have non-Title I kids in a Title I class. I'll tell that story when we're in 603 this summer. You don't misspend state and federal money but once, and then you don't get the opportunity to do that again if you knowingly, intentionally misspent the money. And so that's what the OMA is about, is how to manage your school and from a legal perspective. So when we get to prompt 1, you do a context of your school. And what that is everything that's on your state report card. Your academic performance, your teacher training, your teacher advanced certification, your disciplinary data, everything that's on your state report card is your internal. Your external is from your advanced ed or your SACS report that talks about your community, the average income. It's much like the school profile that you've already done, maybe just a little fleshed out, a little more than that. You look at your current structures in terms of equity and transparency. That's your duty roster, your supervision schedule. You do a quick audit of all of your special programs, all your special needs. That's all your federal programs, whether it's EC 504, gifted, Title I, you do a quick, we got this and this is what we do with them. And then you look at your budget procedure, not the budget itself, but how your budget was developed. How much input does your school improvement team have in developing that school budget? The way that a school works is like a triangle, and you'll see me do this several times. The top of that triangle is the school improvement plan. That's what we do every day. The base that supports that is your school budget and your master schedule. Those two items must support the school improvement plan. It doesn't do any good to identify your initiatives academically and not put the money or not build a schedule that way. So the whole notion here is when your budget is developed at your school, does the school improvement team who develops the school improvement plan, do they have input in that to make sure that your school budget supports the school improvement plan? And if you follow that rationale, federal law, state law, board policy, EVOS, and then teacher input, if you follow that, that will assure that your master schedule also supports your school improvement plan. Your school improvement plan is the roadmap of what you need to do in your school every day, 185 school days a year. It must be supported with your master schedule, must be supported with your school budget. And so that's what the OMA looks like. I'll give you an example so that you can see how to write that, but that's the information you're going to need. You're going to need your SACS report or your advanced ed that gives your school profile, your school context. You're going to need your teacher working condition survey or advanced ed survey, and you're going to need your state report card. Those are the three major pieces where all that information comes from. Again, SACS or advanced ed, teacher working condition survey or advanced ed survey, and your state report card. Those will contain everything that you need to complete the OMA Task 1. Task 2, you get a break. You get a gift. I'm not normally this nice, but you get a gift because you were taught the way you were taught in 601 to do the APTEL, and it couldn't be discipline and it couldn't be something else, parent involvement. It had to be, your professional development plan had to be around academics. Because of that, Task 2 of the OMA is simply a copy and paste of Task 1, 2, and 3 from the APTEL. Take the APTEL labels off of them, straight copy and paste, and it's done. Nothing else, no linking narrative, nothing else. You just have to take the task and prompts from the APTEL and the labels of the APTEL off of it, put Task 1, 2, and 3 together from the APTEL, and Task 2 of the OMA is done. That saves us a week in the summer, and it saves you a lot of work. Now, if we had let you just do whatever you wanted to with professional growth plan in the APTEL, that wouldn't have worked. That's why we told you it has to be this way, because there was going to be a time when it would need for it to be this way. Task 3 of the OMA, you have to do an analysis of your existing schedule, assessment of the current scheduling procedure strengths. Now, analysis of the existing school schedule, first thing you have to look at is how you develop that schedule. Did you follow that 5-point rationale? Did you go with federal law, state law, board policy, EVOS, and teacher input? Did you go that way? Alignment to school improvement, is your schedule aligned with school improvement team findings? Alignment with legal requirements for ongoing teacher collaborative planning and instruction. Is there adequate planning time in it? Alignment with diverse needs of populations, are they having their needs met? Evidence of input from the faculty and utilization of findings the basis of revising the current schedule. And then you develop a new schedule, or you revise a new draft of the current one where you revise it. You take the information of what should be in it or how it should be done, and you revise your current schedule, or you can build a new one. according to how in-depth you want to get. Again, we told you, the idea is learn how to build a legal schedule that follows the correct process. Yours may be close. There may be a few things you need to tweak in it. You may need to build a whole new one. And so, and that will be it. And then, of course, in task 4, you'll do 12 competencies as you did just like this semester. And then when we do the skip, you'll do the other 9. So you'll do 12 competencies. You'll write those. And so that's what the OMA looks like. I'll have this information for you under week 14 and all the add-on shells. We'll make sure that you have the OMA example and the OMA template of the task and prompts. We'll have the discussion boards. You read those. I read those to you earlier. We'll have the case studies. We'll have the textbooks. Please remember, when you get 80 hours on your internship log this spring, stop it. Start another one for summer. Even if it's today, that's fine. Otherwise, you're going to struggle getting your 80 hours this summer. I'm already 4 minutes past our time. I don't like to keep you more than I have to. I'm going to stop now and make sure that we've caught up all the questions that you have.
Dr. Lamb, just a reminder, under week 14, somebody asked about textbooks. The textbooks are listed under week 14.
They're there.
So go ahead and order them.
And so there's one, the Principal's Guide to School Law, and the other one's Facilities Planning. Those are the 2 textbooks. And yes, you do need to buy them. You will keep them forever, especially the school law book. It is expensive, but you need it.
Dr. Lamb,
school law book.
Somebody asked, they said if they got their 80 hours a month ago, could they start from then? I think you said they could start from now.
They can start from today.
From today.
Start from today. Let's don't get too excited. I got that approved earlier today. Through DPI earlier today. So they asked us, I had a report due today and we were working on that about what would be helpful. And so we can kind of stretch it from today, which is the 20th. You can start from April 20th.
But they've got enough time. They can get a lot in between now and the semester starts. A lot.
You've got 4 weeks. The summer doesn't even start until 4 weeks from today, and then it's 10 weeks. So you'll have 14 weeks, the same as you would normally have in the fall. You'll have the same amount of time if you start today.
And Kim asked the question. Yes, Kim, you use the same format that we've given you to do things virtually. And then at some point, if they do release or relax things and you do have an opportunity to go into school, then you would be able to go into school and do some things. But at this point, you do things like we've been doing it for this the rest at the end of this semester.
Yeah, that's why I said most of this stuff is interviewing, talking to school administrators anyway. And so you can either Zoom or email, or you can talk with them on the phone. It's probably not as good as doing it face to face, but it still has value. My students this semester said they actually get better access now than they got before because, people aren't as busy running around. So they actually, it's improved their access to their administrators. That's one good thing that's come out of this.
Questions. No assignment calendars yet. That won't come until you get your course shell closer to when the semester starts. Classes will be pretty much, you'll stay with the same group unless there is a need to collapse any classes. Am I correct, Dr. Lamb?
That's correct. We may have to collapse a couple.
And you'll be with your same
But
Zoom
you'll still
team.
be with your same group. You won't even notice the difference.
And you'll be with your same Zoom teams unless there's a need to make any changes there.
So just like if it collapse, they all collapse under me anyway. So that won't matter. It won't matter to you whether you're in 2 classes or 3. You'll still have me. You'll still have your same groups. Your groups will stay the same unless we need to make an arrangement or unless you request something different. Your groups Your peer groups, your Zoom groups will stay the same. The Zoom groups that you've been doing peer reviews with will simply become your case study groups. They'll become, you'll do the same thing.
Dr. Lamb, the question was asked. Dr. Lamb has already said it. I don't know if the person didn't hear it or not, but if you go back under week 14, everything he's talked about with your discussion board activities, those and your case studies, they're all there. The discussion board activities, you can go ahead and get started on all of that research and that work.
Oh yeah.
That's what you get started on now. And then if you go to your he's just gone over what the OMA looks like. You can go ahead and begin looking at task one, pulling all of this stuff together. You can begin pulling it together and working on it.
Yeah.
You can get a lot done between now and when the semester starts if you'll work smart.
Oh yeah.
And most of them, Dr. Lamb, are at a place where they could go ahead and get started on this because most of them completed the work for the APTEL.
Oh yeah. The main thing is, if it were me, I would be focused on gathering my state report card, my teacher working condition survey or advanced ed survey in South Carolina, and my advanced ed report or my SACS report that has my external context about my community in it. Those would be the things that I would start trying to pull right away, because they may not be right at your elbow. It may take you a day or two to get those. I'd be pulling those things.
If you're wise, you will go through the OMA and the SCIP, and you'll look and see, just read through it and figure out the documents that you don't have that you need to go ahead and secure.
Yeah, the SCIP, you're going to either need your parent survey that your district does, or the teacher working condition survey, the parent involvement section of it, one or the other. And you're going to need the school leadership section from TWC. That's why I said, if you go ahead and pull those now, you'll have them for the SCIP.
And most of that information you can find online if you'll look for it in your district.
Now, some of your districts, and I hesitate to say this because somebody will say, well, we don't have that. Some districts do a separate parent survey outside of the parent involvement section of the teacher working condition survey or the advanced ed survey. Some districts don't do a separate parent survey. Use whatever you have. You will have one or the other. You will either have your advanced ed parent section, parent community involvement section, or your TWC, whether you're North Carolina or South Carolina. You may or may not have a parent survey that your district does that speaks to communication. You may or may not have that, but everybody will have either the TWC or the advanced ed survey, and it has a section on parent community involvement in it, because you're going to assess the communication between the school and the external community.
And remember, in South Carolina, for South Carolina, advanced ed now is called Cognia, COGNIA.
Yeah, but if you Google it, it'll take you to that website.
It'll take you to it, yeah.
Cognia is again, but please don't send me an email. We didn't do a parent survey in our district, but you've got TWC or you've got Cognia/advanced ed. So you have a document where you can pull the information that we want in terms of that. And you also have that same thing where you can pull school leadership from it. Those are the two things you're going to need. That's all the data you're going to need for the SCIP. It's really quick. And we only pull from those two areas on it. And so SCIP is fairly quick and easy if you understand what you're doing. And we'll cover that in class, because if I tell you now, you'll forget. All right. Anything else? I'm going to go in and double check all of the week 14s and all of the 601 sections and make sure that everything is there that needs to be. So if it's not there, don't send me an email. Give me till about 9 o'clock tonight to double check those. Make sure, but everything should be that you need to get started in 603 should be under week 14 in either Dr. Hamilton, Dr. Revis, Dr. Stedman, or Dr. Crawford's week 14. That information should be there, and I'll make sure that it's there tonight by 9 o'clock.
And Dr. Lamb, they need to be reminded too that with the teacher working condition survey, those things, you can only use the most recent that is available. That question came up. If you've done something and it hasn't been released yet, you can't use it. You've got to go to the most recent information that's out there.
Yeah. Yeah, just use the most recent one that you have. Even if you think it's going to come out later, don't wait on it. Let's get started. Summer, under the best of circumstances, is tough for 603. It's really tough. This year, it's even tougher, but we'll make it through. We'll work around whatever we've got to.
They did well with the APTO and survived, so you can do
yeah.
it this summer. You can do it.
Oh yeah, it's easily doable. You got 14 weeks starting today. You can go ahead and jump on it, and that's a normal amount of time. All semesters, spring and fall, are 14 weeks long with the break weeks in there. So you've got 14 weeks. You've got the same amount of time. If you get started today, you got 14 weeks. So it's eminently doable. All right. Anything else for the good of the group before we go? Well, we did get out in 45 minutes. All right.
Dr. Lamb, I believe Gardner Webb email is down. I can't get it to open up on my end.
It probably is. It's a lot too many people on it, I'd say. All right. Check week 14. If it's not there, it'll be there by 9 o'clock. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming out tonight. Be sure to get in touch with your instructors and coaches if you have questions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Lamb.